fairly hot topic right now. It's on the news a lot, and that is consent. And this is a topic that we think, the more we've been researching it and checking into it, the more important we think it is. This is really a non-optional topic. So probably church isn't the place you typically think to be having this conversation, but we think it's the perfect place. So this morning, actually first let's start. Who here thinks they know what consent means? What's the definition of consent? Anyone? Yeah.
Like giving agreement to something.
Okay. Giving agreement to something. Yeah. Okay. So let's.
We're gonna define it kind of in our way moving forward and how we want you guys to think about it. And yeah, it's almost exactly like she said.
Yeah. So enthusiastic verbal permission. Okay. That's how we're defining it. And there are some key components to this. You want me to write? He's going to be a professor. He has to learn to write eventually. Okay, so what are some components of this that would be important? Enthusiastic verbal consent. What are some of the key things in there? Two of them are right in the title. Enthusiasm, yes, it is active, okay? Another one, second word.
Not ready.
It is verbal. So we got active and verbal, okay? Another important one is it's ongoing. Consent isn't a given once, good forever kind of thing, okay? It's ongoing. Another one is consent can be withdrawn. So someone can give you consent for something, and then they can take it away, and you have to be okay with it. It's their choice, okay? So that is, and the other is, it's for a specific moment in time, okay? It's not that given once, good forever. We are aware that this topic is one that has the potential to be a sensitive one, because statistics would say there's people in here who have been sexually assaulted, or been taken advantage of, or had advances from someone that they did not want. And if that's you, and our team is here to support you, I think that's very important for you guys to know that one of the big things is the victim is never to blame. And you guys will see that over the course of this morning. So, sorry, I thought I heard you. I thought you were going to say something. No, okay. Our goal for this series is to create an environment that is safer for everyone. That is like bottom line, so that each of you are safer as a result of learning the things you're going to learn over the next couple of Switch services. And I gotta say, when I started researching this, I have to be honest, I was a little skeptical. Someone would say, well, you need consent for that. I'd have these objections, and I realized, like, I grew up, a lot of the adults and the leaders grew up in a culture where consent was important, but it was never communicated. It was like, as a guy, if you were on a date, you wanted to kiss, you just tried, and if you got shut down, you got shut down. Like, we're going to talk you through and show you some better ways of doing some of these things. But I mean, consent says you can't engage in unsolicited verbal, physical, or sexual activity without verbal consent. When this happens, it's actually now considered assault, and you can be charged for it. It's not like, that was a bad idea. It's like, you can have criminal charges. So when we say this is a mandatory thing, it really is. Bottom line, your body is your body, and it's not for someone else to use for their pleasure unless you want it. Bottom line, like, people don't have the right. I can't just go up to Justin and like whenever I want, right? That's like, no, it's my face. Leave it alone. I don't want you touching my face, right? But it's too late. See, I can't even ask for consent now because I already touched his face. Okay, Max. I'm going to ask Max now, just, do I have your consent this morning in our skits to touch you what might seem inappropriately?
Yes, Carmen, you have my consent.
That was very enthusiastic and verbal. Thank you. That's going to work well. Okay. So, today we're going to do a bunch of skits. We're going to get you guys involved, just analyzing what we're doing. And we're going to talk through some different things, like consent or not consent, okay? We want you guys to engage in this. So I'm going to turn it over to Justin. Max and I are going to go backstage, and we'll go from there and let the embarrassment.
All right, so let's give them just a minute to get ready. Max and Carmen are going to be our actors for the day. So I'm going to leave this up here so we can come back to it as we go through our skits. Consent, enthusiastic verbal consent, that's what consent is. It's active, verbal, ongoing, can be withdrawn, specific moment in time. So let's get our actors out here. We've got Carmen and we've got Max for scene 1. And we are going to talk about, first I'm just going to show you how consent is normal. It's a natural, normal part of our everyday lives. At home, for example.
Hey Dad, I need to go take my girlfriend out on a date. Can you use the car?
Yeah, of course. Just make sure you get back by 11.
Thanks.
So consent is something we do every day. Carmen consented to let Max use the car. At home, at work.
Yes. Hey boss, just wondering if I could get a couple days off next week.
What day is it?
Let's go with Friday and Thursday.
That sounds fine, Carmen. Okay. You can make it.
Perfect.
All right, so consent is normal. Consent is something we practice all the time. Consent is something we deal with on a regular basis. We're all okay with consent. So it only becomes tricky when we enter the sexual realm of things, and that's what we want to talk about. So we want to show you that asking always adds more than it takes away. Asking for something is always better than assuming. So for our next scene, I don't know if they're ready, but this is going to be a school dance. So if I could get a couple dancers, volunteers, that would consent to joining me up on stage. 1 or 2. Anyone comfortable with dancing? You're just in the background.
These 3 right here. You're consent.
Yeah? They consented earlier?
Yeah.
Okay, come on up. Come on up. Give me a hand. Give me a hand. Super embarrassed that you come up here. All right, so we're at a school dance. So you're in front of this white screen here. Just wait. Wait, Max is also at the school dance. We're just going to wait for Max. Oh, Maxine. So Maxine and his girlfriends are dancing. Give me some. All right, so enter Carmen. So now Carmen comes in, sees these people dancing. Okay, I'm going to stop it right there before we enter assault, because we're not talking about assault today, we're talking about consent. So, you guys can stay here. Is this consent? Was this consensual? No. Why? Why based on our definitions? Yes. No verbal communication, correct. So, that was not consensual. Okay, now, also I'd like to point out, kind of creepy and weird. Has anyone ever had this happen? You've been at a dance and someone did that? Yes, no? Any ladies?
It's happened to me.
It's never happened to me. It will happen to a lot of you. So,
If you've seen Justin dance, you'll know why.
if you see me dance, you'll know I don't dance. So, Carmen, let's see how it could be done a little better, a little more with consent. Okay, cue the dancers, all 4 of you. Alright, I guess they said no, but at least Carmen asked. It was consensual, or would have been if they had said yes. So that's a better way to ask and not be thrown out of the dance place for assaulting someone. What do you guys think? Something we could actually do in real life? Has anyone ever danced up on someone without asking? Besides Jake? Just kidding. Okay. All right, so you guys can sit down. Thank you. Thank you to our dancers. Give them a round of applause. So next we're going to look at a scene at the movies. And can you guys hear them, by the way, or do you want me to give them a mic? I can't even hear you guys. Mic thumb? Okay, I only have one, but I'll put it over. Okay, so they're at a movie. Carmen and Maxine are at a movie. What movie are they at?
Something scary.
It has to be scary for our
God, scary movie's a good way to
What?
Are you scared?
The visit, I never remember. The visit. We're at the visit. It's a horror movie. I'm horrified a little by our Maxine, but that's okay. So we're at a horror movie, and now lots of you have been on dates. Lots of you, maybe especially the males, probably some of you are not watching the movie. You're thinking about how can I physically touch this person next to me. Right? Am I right? I'm not the only one. You know that. So, cue it. Let's see it. All right, so ploy number one, the popcorn grab. Time it so that his hand enters the popcorn bucket at the exact same time. Let's see another ploy that's used commonly. All right, the old, what time is it, or how big is the fish I caught? We've all seen that one. All right, let's see a little more subtle, Carmen. Give me another one. Watch your dress there, Lexi. All right, the old hand on the thigh. All right, so I'm going to just stop the scene, let Max calm down a little bit. Let's talk about consent. Which one of those was consensual? None. Does anyone think any of them were consensual? No. We're going to go back to our definition. Consent is verbal, it's enthusiastic. Oh yeah, use the mic. Oh, there was no talking. When there's talking, use the mic. So, show us, Carmen. Some of us are skeptical. I was skeptical. How can we do this with an ask? How can you make this maybe not so awkward and ask for permission? QC.
This movie's awesome. The only thing that would make it better is if I could hold your hand. Would you mind?
I think I like that.
All right, completely consensual. Next.
Wait,
Are we doing another
Yeah,
one?
dude.
This movie's terrifying. Would you mind if I held you close to keep you safe?
That's a good one. Nice, Carmen.
We started before. Yeah, that sounds good because I'm pretty scared.
So, this morning is serious. Obviously, we're joking a little bit, but this consent is very serious. Also, for some of you that are new to the dating scene, we are going to give you some lessons, like you've just seen, on how to be a little more suave in what you do. Carmen's obviously very good at that. All right, I am now going to cut scenes to after the date. You're driving, so Carmen, you're driving Maxine home. Am I sure? No, I'm not sure. Carmen obviously has memorized the order of my skits, and they're non-negotiable, the order. All right, so what happens? What happens if we change this up and they're the same gender? I was going to say Maxine, throw your wig away, but that's not a wig.
For your scissors?
So, same gender. Okay? So now, situation changes. You guys know what you're doing now? Okay? Let's see it.
And action.
And action.
Max, this movie's awesome. Mind if I just put my hand on your leg there?
Yeah, that sounds great.
All right. This has been a good date so far.
All right, so I'm going to just stop right there. So, he had consent, yes. We all agree he had consent to put his hand on his thigh. Max obviously at some point decided he didn't, I don't know if you noticed that. Max moved the hand back to his own thigh. Now, can Carmen put his hand back on Max's thigh? Who said no? Why? Correct. So coming back to our point, consent, it can be withdrawn and is for a specific moment in time. So the fact that he was allowed to put his hand on Max's thigh then does not mean he's allowed to put his hand on Max's thigh again, or tomorrow, or later. Right?
Correct.
Okay, so now we're going to go to after the date, we're driving home. Oh, we're just gonna change for a sec.
Different date. I'm on a date with someone.
Okay, so this is a different date. Carmen's playing the field. Now he's on a different date, different Friday night, and they were at dinner and getting ready to drive home. We're obviously having a wardrobe malfunction. If you guys could only see what I can see. So we'll just pause here for a sec. All right. So Carmen and Maxine are driving home after a hot date at the opera. All right. So Q, you are going to. So you're working for a kiss on the way home here, Carmen. It's been a long day. We're on skit 3. You can do your notes. All right.
Oh, I've never been to an opera before. It was better than I imagined.
Lots of people with high pitched voices and lots of people around.
It was nice to be able to share that with you.
All right, I'm gonna just stop right there. Consent, yes or no?
No.
Why? He automatically went to kiss. Anyone been there? Not the kisser. Anyone been the kissee? Someone tried to just automatically go in for a kiss? None of you girls? No? It probably will happen at some point. And now my question is, Max didn't say no, did he? So is there consent? Why? Correct. Because consent is verbal, enthusiastic verbal. So, what if Max didn't want the kiss? And Carmen went in for a kiss? Smack, sure, yeah, I said, what if, because you went in for a kiss, he didn't say no. We all are agreeing that that's not consent. What if he didn't want the kiss? How serious could that be? Yeah, like assault, yeah. So, next scene.
I really enjoyed the date. That was a good time. You know, a kiss seems like it would be in order. Well, I mean, I already paid for the opera. Drove you here. I mean, the least you can do is give me a kiss. The least. Okay. Fine, I guess.
All right. I can stop you. I'll stop you right before you guys kiss every time. Consent or no? Why? Okay, because he pushed Max into it, but Max said yes.
It wasn't enthusiastic.
It was not enthusiastic. Correct. It was coerced. Anyone been there? Anyone been there where they felt that they had to, or they owed it to the other person? Mark, you want to add to that?
Bethany's just very forceful.
Bethany, well, then we're all going to learn something today, married or not. We're all learning about consent. So the same point, consent is enthusiastic verbal permission. Maxine obviously didn't want it. Carmen pushed himself. So that's the enthusiastic part. Even though it was verbal, even though he consented, it was not enthusiastic. And that's why we want to stress that part of it. So let's see an example of this done well. Use the mic, please.
Wow, that was one of the best operas I've ever been to. And it could have been shared with a better person. I had so much fun tonight. Nothing can make this night better than a kiss. Would you mind if I gave you a kiss?
Okay, pause. Max, you are a weird kisser.
Wait for my earlobes.
So something I want to talk about here. Something we talked about. Spontaneity. Spontaneity is thought to be very romantic. Are we ruining the romance when we do this? What do you guys think? Open conversation. No? Or you want to add to that? No? Anyone else? What do you guys think? How about girls? Is it more romantic to just be kissed? Are we ruining something by saying Carmen needs to ask every time? No? Are you guys okay with this? Yeah? Depends on the situation. How? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. An excellent point, Carmen. She's talking about fairy tales. In a fairy tale, you often would see the eyes meet and they come together to kiss. Now we're saying that we don't have verbal consent. And
The
we're
problem with fairy tales is they're that.
Okay.
They're not real. And there's nothing saying because that girl got rescued that she immediately wants to kiss that guy. That is a major assumption that's being made.
And our point we want to stress this morning is it may be sometimes in their heads, both of them consensual. They both may want to kiss, they both may lean in and kiss, and it was to both of them consensual. But what we're saying is that in protecting yourself and protecting the other person, you will never lose by asking or by making sure it's consensual. Because the opposite side of that is assaulting the other person. So there are still romantic ways. Carmen may not be showing us the best example. There are still romantic ways of asking for consent. And that's what we're talking about. Because it's in the news, it's in the media, and a lot of times what happens is the guy thinks the girl wants to kiss, or vice versa, or the guy thinks the guy wants to kiss, and someone didn't. And all of a sudden it's not consensual, even though he thought it was, and now you have a problem. So we're saying to protect yourself and the other person by making it verbal.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of our skits have been guy asking girl, but this happens in all forms of this. Girl putting her, like, forcing herself on a guy, guys on girls, girls dating guys dating. It's not specific to a gender or a match of any particular type. This happens in all different types of scenarios.
And also, this can give them an out. So, Carmen, if you ask Max if he wants to kiss.
Maxine, that was such a fun date. Before you head in, would you mind if I gave you a kiss goodbye?
Carmen, I had a great time, but I'm not ready yet. So I'm not saying no, but can I see you next Friday maybe?
Yeah, I would love that. Thank you.
So that's a lot less humiliating than Carmen leaning in and either getting a slap or whatever Max was doing with his arms flailing. So that gives them both an out. He's not embarrassed, he's not humiliated, and Max can still show interest by saying, I would like to go on another date down the road. Now, this is what we were just talking about. So what happens if Maxine is dying for a kiss? You guys want to cue that one?
That was an awesome date.
Yeah, I really enjoyed myself.
You're looking good.
Yeah.
Really good.
Okay, guys. Yeah, pause. Couldn't really see how far you were from me. So that's what we were just talking about, right? He and she wanted to be kissed. It was obvious in the gleam in his eye, the flick of his hair, the approach, the Carmen leaning in. They both wanted to be kissed. And that's where we're talking about you will not lose by getting verbal consent. Carmen, anything you want to add to that?
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah. So.
You got another seat for me?
Yeah.
Big-
Just.
All right.
Ready.
Going off the script here, scripted. All right, let's see it.
I love tonight's date. That was so much fun. You know, thank you for accompanying me.
Yeah, it was really great. If I had to guess, I'd say you probably want to kiss right now because you're taking really far.
I would love to kiss you.
I would love it.
Stop! That was an awkward kiss. All right, so that was a way, right, of verbally getting consent during the process.
Well, and I think it shows responsibility on both parts to, if Max would have just kissed me, if Maxine would have just kissed me, what she's saying is, she's reinforcing the behavior that says, I don't need to ask. And so by her stopping and saying, if I'm reading this right, you know, either person can ensure that consent happens. It's not always one party. And by doing that, it reinforces a behavior that says something, we need to talk about this before this happens. And next time I go, right, she made sure that we communicated this, and I kind of know for next time, like, I'm going to ask. It just reinforces a behavior that we're trying to, that's maybe not natural right now for anyone, right?
Yeah, and some of this may not feel natural, and some of it may feel a little awkward, but there are ways to get consent. All right, so I'm going to move to the next skit. Carmen is walking his date, Maxine, to the door. I may get you to keep the mic, guys. Okay? Maxine, you have such muscular arms.
Well, here we are, your place. That was a lot of fun. You know, again, I don't know how to end this night any better than by giving you a kiss. Would you be all right with that?
Okay, I'm gonna just stop you there. All right, sorry for all of you that had to see that. So, was this consensual? No, why? The butt grab. How about the kiss? Yeah, okay, yeah, it was. He asked. So the butt grab was not consensual. And why up here? Yes. Correct. It wasn't verbal, it wasn't communicated, and he had consent only for a specific moment in time, for the kiss, not the butt grab. So this is a hot topic in that consent does not imply consent for more, right? So consent to kiss does not imply that there's consent for more. Can you show us how this could be done? Sorry to everyone that has to see this again.
Well, and it's funny because this is one that we talked about that we said probably seemed awkward, but was so vital. So
yeah, we're saying this one is vital, and if you guys, so we'll do it, watch it, and then let's get some feedback. Doesn't have to be butt, it could be back or something.
well, yeah, it's got to be butt.
Okay.
That was a great date. You know, I guess this is kind of the end of it. Did you have a good time? Yeah, so did I. Would you like to kiss? All right. I'm really enjoying this. Are those Lululemons you're wearing? Your butt looks great. Would you mind if I move my hand a little lower?
Yeah, actually,
All right.
All right. So let's talk about this one. Let's pause here. We all look a little embarrassed, all of us.
Mostly Justin.
Mostly me.
And Austin.
Austin back there. So I want to talk about this one in particular, because I know a lot of you aren't dating yet, some of you are. How do you do this? Was that awkward? Would you guys feel comfortable having a verbal conversation in the middle of something like that? Some of you guys are shaking your head. I won't make you talk. You don't have to talk. You can put up your hand if you want to respond, or you can just shake your head at me.
I think the thing I'm always saying is, like, what is more uncomfortable? To have a conversation, to be able to say, are you okay if I do this action, versus having it done to you and not wanting it done to you?
Yeah.
Right? The number of times, a lot of times guys specifically will go for more than they ask permission for. And for girls, that puts you in a really awkward position. Like, you shouldn't, first of all, you shouldn't be in that position in the first place, right? It's a lot easier to say yes or no up front without that something being tried on you. Who would agree with that? Is it easier to say, if someone said, hey, can I grab your butt? Is it easier to say yes or no, or is it better just to like try to push them off you as they're groping you? What? Yes or no? Ladies? Have you ever had an experience like that? Any of the leaders?
Yeah, let's see a show of hands. Who's been in a situation like that? I know a lot of us are younger here today, but yes, definitely some of us have been in this position.
You guys, and one of the reasons we're talking about this is because we know a lot of you guys are young. So a lot of you aren't dating yet, but you're close to that that age where it's going to start to happen. And the better that you guys can handle this the less situations you'll be in where you be like, oh my gosh, what just happened? How did I end up here, right? And there's another video at the end that'll talk about those scenarios, and a lot of times the people who had someone force themselves on them feel to blame, like they did something in some way, and that is not the case. The person perpetrating the action, the person who's doing the thing, is always 100% to blame.
And again, it may be awkward, and there are ways to make it less awkward, but again, I just want to reiterate, what's worse, awkward or all of a sudden Maxine is saying Carmen assaulted her, right? Which does happen.
That's awkward.
That's very awkward. All right, one more skit. You guys need to go change?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Carmen's going to go change. So while they're changing, I'll set up the skit. They are, I think they're two girls. No, they're one girl walking down the road. I'm sure some of you have been here. And she's a very good-looking girl. And she's dressed to the nines. And she is feeling on fleek. Is that right? Yeah. So she's hey, I got it. So she's on her game. Is she ready? She's not ready. So she, oh my goodness. So she is getting dressed right now. I'm not sure I had permission to see that. Don't dress in public if you don't want people to see you. So she's dressed to the nines. She's feeling good about herself. She wants to dress up for herself to look good. She's walking down the road. She has somewhere to go. It includes passing by some members of the opposite sex. All right? You look good. All right. So Max is a construction worker. I'm going to go total stereotype here. He's working away. And here comes Carmen. Fortunate I can leave the name he said. So Carmen walks by.
Nice.
All right, pause. So that was the old, show us it again. That was the old creepo look up and down. Girls out there, had that happen? Hands? Anybody? Yes, lots of you. And unfortunately,
Physical or sexual contact without consent.
okay?
So, catcalling, the looking one would be a hard one to.
Yeah, it's hard, but I think that,
But
that
it's
definitely
still-
falls under the umbrella.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the creepiness of it. Does any girl out there like that? Any girl? Just to prove my point, what girls don't like that? Hands. Okay. Some of you may like.
How many of you get dressed in the morning, you look good, you feel good, and your intent was to have guys catcall you and walk up and smack you on the butt? Like, how many of you, that's your intent in the morning when you get dressed? Hands up if that's your intent. Hands up if that is definitely not your intent. You do not want guys, yes, I also.
Yes,
have my
so everyone has their hand
It's
up.
never my intent.
So that's another thing I want to talk about. When a girl dresses however she wants to dress, there is zero right for anyone, guy or girl, to her or her body. It does not matter what she's wearing, it doesn't matter how she looks, it's your body, and consent means they can't do anything with it without your permission. I want that very clear.
This is one of the things when I started doing this that I had to wrestle with. I'm like, well, and this is very old school thing. This is not accurate. So I apologize that I even thought like this at one point in my life. But the idea that, oh, they're dressed like that. They're looking for something sexual in nature. I mean, that's why else would they dress like that? And then I started having this conversation with my wife, and I realized there's days she puts on sweatpants and a t-shirt, and I'm like, man, you look sexy today. And then there's days that she's dressed to the nines, and I'm like, you're looking good. I mean, it doesn't matter what she puts on to me. Like, she's like a beautiful, sexy woman. So, girls, you're at a complete loss here if you're, if it was based on what you were wearing, because every guy thinks something different looks good. And so, clothes are never a justification for any type of action. It in no way implies consent.
It's unfortunate we even have to say that, yeah.
Yeah, And I mean, obviously the clothes you wear will give people different opinions about you, but it gives them no permission to do anything or act on it.
Okay, so we're running short on time. So before we move to the last skit, I don't think you guys have to get ready for it, or do you? It's, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, okay. So before we get to that, yeah, you can change. Be fast though. Pornography. Pornography comes up when we look into this issue of consent. So I want to address that really quickly, just really quickly. Pornography has created in our society a problem in that pornography portrays that a woman or a man, but it's usually a woman, wants everything and at any time. There is zero consent in pornography. And unfortunately, we have to talk about it because it's a huge, multi-billion-dollar issue and it's massive. So pornography portrays that consent isn't necessary, it's not needed, and that the girl doesn't even care. So I want to address that. I want you guys and girls to know how dangerous that can be. There's lots of reasons pornography is obviously very dangerous, but one of them is the way it portrays women. There is no consent in pornography, and that is so unrealistic. That is not at all how women want to be treated. All right, you guys ready for the next one?
Yeah.
Any questions about that? No. Are there times when rules up here around consent change? It's a trick question. Yes, there are some rules. Rule number 1. Carmen is going to act it out for us.
One second.
No, you need to wait. You need to.
I have to be a character.
Right. All right. Carmela. Carmela's had a couple drinks. She's had 2 drinks. Or 3. I can't tell how many. She's had 2 or 3 drinks. Max asks for consent.
Hey, this has been a really great night. Would you like to come home with me? Yeah, I'd love that.
Now stop. Is that consent? Who said no? Why? Yes. Consent cannot be given when someone is under the influence. And that's not a rule we're making up. That's the law. One person is drunk by the definition that they can't drive themselves home, 2 drinks, 1 drink, whatever it is, depending on your weight, 1 drink, they cannot give you consent. So to make that really basic, if someone is slurring, if someone is falling down, if someone needs to be carried home, they cannot give you consent, and this could be rape. Scenario 2, both drinking. Someone asks someone for consent.
Oh, that was a good party.
Yeah, I can hardly see straight.
I think there's a room upstairs
Oh,
with
really?
a great view.
I love great views.
Want to go check it out?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, stop, because we know where it's leading, obviously. Sex is an active, intentional action between 2 people. This is not, well, it is intentional, but when they are inebriated, they are unable to consent, either of them. So if one of them's sober, you have a big problem. If both of them are drunk, you have a big problem. Consent cannot be given. Don't mess around with that one. And I know you guys are young, but if you're at a party and someone's been drinking, don't do it. Just don't get into that mess, because this is what's hitting the news. This is where someone regrets later what they did. When you drink, your inhibitions go down, and this becomes really ugly. So drinking changes the rules around consent. 2 more. This one's called position of authority.
Max, great practice today. You're doing awesome out there.
Thanks,
You're
Coach.
definitely like a team star.
Oh, thanks.
Just have a sit here. I just want to chat with you for a couple minutes. You're looking pretty tense. Do you do anything to loosen up after games?
So stop. They want me to stop. Max very much wants me to stop. Position of authority is rule number 3. Consent cannot be given. It can be given, but it's It's not allowed to be given in a position of authority. It doesn't count. Coach to player, teacher to student, band practice, like any of these things. Am I missing anything? Famous people. So if you're in a position of authority or you're in awe of someone, you cannot give them your consent. Avoid those situations. Last one we're not going to act out because it disturbs me, and it's age difference. 16 or under cannot consent legally to someone who is over 18. If you're under 16, they're over 18, it's rape. There's no consent there, period. Pretty clear, right? So, that being said, those are the 4 rules where consent cannot be given. Is there anything else you guys want to see? I got a couple minutes. Act it out. Anything I'm missing? Anything you've been in that was awkward? You're not going